Okay, what is up, everyone? Whew. After a long day, the final press conference today, Monday, for E3 2014 is Sony. And so now it's time for us to go through their entire press conference, do a recap of everything they talked about, and give you my impressions and my opinion on the press conference overall, how it was. And boy, Sony, out of all the press conferences today, went incredibly long, almost a full 2 hours. I've got 5 freaking pages of notes. I shit you not. 5 pages to go through. That's how much went down in the Sony press conference. So without further ado, let's just jump right into it, okay? So Sony opened up with Destiny. Now keep in mind that Destiny is not a Sony exclusive. It's going to be cross-platform. But looking at the trailer, it looks like it's some kind of a unique combination of a FPS game that's also an MMO. But however, they did announce during this trailer it will be first on PlayStation, meaning there will be an exclusive window where it'll be on PlayStation first before it comes out on Microsoft consoles. They also announced that the Destiny beta will be July 17th and will only be available on the PlayStation Network, not on any Microsoft systems. And that on this Thursday, on PlayStation 4, there will be an exclusive alpha that you can actually play. And they actually put a web address on the screen. I tried to go to the web address. Complete site doesn't work at all. Crashes. So once again, this is like the third, fourth one during E3 that during these press conferences. Oh, there's a beta right now, and everyone tries to do it, and no one can do it because the whole thing's crashed. I don't know who thought that was a great idea to do that. It's really dumb, in all honesty. Okay. Then it was announced that in honor of Destiny, which is released September 9th, there will be an exclusive white-colored PlayStation 4 bundle being sold with Destiny. They didn't give a price, so people are a little confused as to is it the same price and you're basically getting the game for free, or is it more expensive because Destiny's coming with it? It wasn't clarified on the stream, but that is being released on September 9th as well, along with the release of the individual game itself. Okay. Up next, we had The Order 1886. We actually had gameplay of the game, and it was the first time I'd ever seen this game in action. It's incredibly dark, and it does seem to have a very strong survival horror vibe to it. The one thing that stood out for me was that he was carrying a lantern, and the lantern had this lighting pattern of flickering, like a realistic, like fire, and it looked very, very realistic to me, and I thought it looked very nice looking, especially for the ambiance of, you know, being creeped out. So, he walks up to this thing that looks like a zombie eating someone. It stands up, and all of a sudden it starts transmorphing into this giant monster, and it's not quite a werewolf, it's not quite a vampire, you don't know what it is. It chases you, you end up shooting it, it throws you into a room. Now you're pulling out guns and shooting the thing and dodging, and then the trailer kind of ends, and so it's just kind of like, you don't really know what the game's going to be yet. It's obviously going to be third-person action, but is it survival horror? Is it going to be more run and gun? It doesn't seem to, from the trailer, it's hard to tell. It looks like they're going the more survival horror route, but since it was such just one minor encounter with this guy, you don't really know too much about it. But I think at least it gave you some interest in the game, and for a game that we first heard about a full year ago and really have heard almost nothing about since then, it's good to see the game in action. So that was nice. Up next was Entwined, which is a story about two souls in love. And basically what it is two really artistically styled birds that fly around the screen and create like this cool artistic pattern. A lot of people were saying, oh, is this Journey? Is this Journey? Like, no, it might look kind of like Journey, but it's not Journey. And they actually said that the game will be controlled by both thumbsticks. One thumbstick each will control each bird, which I thought was interesting. But it's not clear on what exactly the gameplay is yet. So we'll have to wait for that one to get a little bit more info. This was a brand new announcement. Infamous Second Son, which a lot of people, I still have, you know, I kept it in the anticipation that maybe there'd be a DLC someday. There is a DLC. It's called First Light. It's starring the female, I forget what was her name, Fetch? Whoever the female lead was in Infamous Second Son. It's like an individual story, spin-off story starring her. And that's going to be available in August 2014, but it's a standalone DLC, meaning if you don't even have the game, you could still download this DLC and play it. Now, the good news is they said if you kept the game in anticipation that maybe there would have been a DLC, there's going to be new exclusive content in this DLC if you've kept the game. So if you did hold on to it and didn't trade it in, you get you know, something for doing that. And let's face it, that's nice. Okay. Up next, we had another huge announcement. After years of not hearing from this studio after last year seeing a really silly, stupid demo of this studio, what they could do with PS4. We finally got something new from them. Ladies and gentlemen, Media Molecule was in the house to demo LittleBigPlanet 3. And for the first time in the LittleBigPlanet universe, new characters that you can control and do cooperative gameplay up to 4 players. So they introduced the first new character named Oddsock. He can do wall jumps and is incredibly fast. He's more like a dog. There's a secondary new character called Toggle, who's huge and can be used to weigh down switches, but could also shrink, and that way he can be very light and go real high, or he can hide or climb in small passages. The third new character is called Swoop, and it's a bird that flies around and can also hover under things and can grab people and lift them up to higher heights that they can't reach with a jump. During this game, during the conference, it was funny. This had to be the only game that they actually really live demoed, and you could tell because they failed. They were dying. Things were hitting them. They were trying to do stuff. I think their game controllers had an input delay because they were trying to do like wall jumping and stuff, and they couldn't do it. And I mean, with LittleBigPlanet, the controls are pretty much incredibly simple. So it was kind of funny that they couldn't even do the basic stuff, and they're the game devs. Okay. And then finally was announced it's coming out in November for PlayStation 4. So wow, a game that no one even knew was in development is coming out in November for PlayStation 4, an awesome exclusive series. That's a great win right there, and that I feel was one of the strongest things that they announced during the whole conference. And they also mentioned that on launch day, all of the levels that have ever been created for LittleBigPlanet 1 and 2 are going to be live and playable through LittleBigPlanet 3 with increased and improved graphics of the PS4. Pretty wild. Oh god, now someone's saying I said Media Molecule and that's wrong. It's made by someone else. Whatever. I don't care. Alright, up next. I love people who nitpick. Up next. Ladies and gentlemen, the game that everyone has been, all the rumors all over the internet, there's a leaked GIF. What? It's coming out. It's going to be, yes, it made an appearance. Project Beast, which is not called Project Beast. The real name, well, if you listen to Shu said, Bloodpour. What the hell? Everyone's like, what did he say? He chewed that word up on the way out. What was that? People were speculating. Blood porn, blood boars. They didn't know. It's Bloodborne, okay? And it looks to me, at least from the trailer, that the enemies you're fighting are all these creepy mutations where, like, their bodies have blood and stuff all over them, and maybe that's what it is. Maybe there's some kind of an infection creating monsters, and you're the hero trying to kill these monsters. It's incredibly gruesome. There's people's heads getting ripped off, blood squirting everywhere. An interesting trailer, but no gameplay. So you really can't tell, is this game like Dark Souls because it's made by From Software? Did they go a different direction? You can't tell yet, but it was nice to get a name to the game, okay? They did announce that game is coming out in 2015, alright? Okay. Next, we had Far Cry 4, and unlike earlier today, at another press conference where all they did was this story-based trailer, we had actual, real gameplay. And I have to say this, the graphics look nice, but the gameplay pretty much looks like Far Cry 3 with a few variations. Number one, you can shoot while you drive. While you're actually driving the cars, you can pull out your gun and shoot on the fly. Number two, you can carjack other people's cars if they're driving next to you. And number three, there's absolutely... oh, I'm sorry. I skipped one. There's a wingsuit. If you fall off a cliff and it looks like you're going to die, you can hover with the wingsuit. And there's actually a sequence where the guy's hovering throughout a giant canyon and finally flies down to a totally new area. There's also seems to be no loading whatsoever in this giant open world game. You were going all around, driving in a car, wingsuit, landing, no loading buffering at all. Now, of course, keep in mind, this could just be a pre-rendered thing, so we don't know. But if that's the real game, it has no stopping for loading. It means the game may never load, which is wild, okay? There's also a gyrocopter assist during the one assault on a base, what do they call them, a stronghold. The main character, whoever he is, summons in a gyrocopter that comes down. He jumps on. Now it becomes an on-rail shooter that you're just above everyone, shooting everyone in the stronghold until you kill them all and you take over the stronghold. That's an addition that was not in the last game either. And then the last thing that happened that was pretty sweet was that, if you remember, in Far Cry 3, there were animals that were like captured, but if you shot their cages, they'd be freed, they'd attack the people. Now there were giant scale animals. In this case, it was an elephant. You freed the elephant, it got pissed, and it ran into a Jeep with its head and knocked the whole Jeep over, and the Jeep fucking explodes. It's pretty epic. So the game looks good. Looks like the gameplay is definitely going to be on par with Far Cry 3 with a few additions, which is always nice. And the last thing that they mentioned about the game is that you can invite friends to play you in the game, even if they don't own the game, and it's a Sony exclusive. So basically, if you have a PS4 with Far Cry 4, and your friend has a PS4 but doesn't have Far Cry 4, you can invite them to play with you in a multiplayer game. They'll download something for free, and they can play the multiplayer with you. Okay, I mean, that's kind of wild, don't you think? Isn't that kind of out there, that you're basically getting a free portion of the game for nothing just because your friend owns it? But they're saying that is a PlayStation exclusive that will not happen on any other console that this game is being ported to. Okay, fair enough. Pretty wild. Okay, next they show this crazy trailer of this guy as a jogger, and he's jogging down this beachfront, but he has a zombie bite on his hand, which he covers with his sweatband, and as he's jogging, he has music on, so he's oblivious to everything around him. There's zombies attacking out of nowhere. They're ripping people apart. They're fighting people out to come out with guns, shooting each other and everything. It's crazy chaos around him. As he's running, he turns into a zombie, and then finally a van drives up and takes him out, and then it's a Dead Island 2. And I'm like, well, I kind of expected that they were making a Dead Island 2. If you actually remember back when I played Dead Island Riptide last year, I ripped Riptide a new asshole and said, no, this game is terrible because there was no effort put into it. It plays exactly like the first game. It's actually worse because it doesn't have as much fun content in it. Why didn't they just make a pure sequel? And the answer is they did. They actually have been working on this pure sequel, and it was announced. And they did not say when it's coming out. But they did say that there will be exclusive stuff to Dead Island 2 on the PS4. They also announced that Diablo 3 is going to get an update that has zombies from The Last of Us in it. What? Diablo needs zombies, clickers from The Last of Us. Sure it does. Well, that's coming. For all you who are excited for that, I don't know. Battlefield Hardline, they talked a little bit about. It was pretty much they ran an abridged version of the gameplay that had been run earlier today for that game in the EA press conference. And, you know, it is what it is. And, you know, if you like Battlefield, you want to do Cops and Robbers with Battlefield gameplay, there you go. There was an announcement of an exclusive partnership with Disney that early 2015, Disney will be releasing Disney Infinity 2. So that's not even a year and a half after the release of the first one. And that Marvel is now joining Disney Infinity in this line, and they actually show Captain America, the Hulk, and someone else. And they're saying that will only be on PS3 and PS4. You need to get those versions of the game if you want Marvel characters. Then, in Destiny, they said Destiny will also be getting exclusive content, including guns, skins, an Exodus multiplayer map, and a Strike on Mars cooperative challenge, all of which you only get if you buy it on PS4. And then all of a sudden, as they were going to the next portion of the conference, you heard Hulk smash, like insanely loud. You're like, what the fuck? Like, what just happened? It was crazy, and they actually did have serious audio bugs all night long going on. There were miscues. Some people's mics you couldn't hear. Some people were too loud. There were a lot of audio and production issues with this press conference, which was pretty fun. Okay? Okay, up next, they introduced Paradox Interactive is making Magicka 2. I guess Magicka was a game for PC. I've never played it because I never heard of it. But I guess it's coming to the PlayStation, which is great. Another announcement that I think more retro gamers would like. They're remastering Tim Schafer's classic cult game from the 90s, Grim Fandango, for the PS4 and PS Vita. That'll be coming out soon. They're also going to make versions of Broforce, Titan Souls, Not a Hero, Hotline Miami, and the Talos Principle, all for PS4 and PS Vita. Great. Suda51 has a new project they're working on. It's called Let It Die. They ran a trailer for it. It was very confusing, like all Suda51 games. They don't make any fucking sense, and it's very gory. It looks like it may be a more adult theme, more darker theme, more adult-oriented. It doesn't really have any humor in it. Just a bunch of people really just chopping the fuck out of each other, shooting each other, blood squirting everywhere. It's just disgusting. And that's coming out on PS4 only. Only PS4. It's not going to be on any Microsoft console at all in 2015. early, well, just 2015. They didn't say early 2015. From the makers of Journey, they've made a new game. No, it's not Journey 2. It's called ABZU, Abzu. It basically is underwater. Everything's underwater. It shows a very stylized character, similar to, say, Journey, with sharks and stuff going on around it. I'm sure we'll get more info on that as it approaches. Of course, keep in mind that Journey made no freaking sense because it had no real concrete story, so who knows if this will ever have any kind of a thing to explain about it anyway. No Man's Sky. This was a game, I believe it was announced on the Game of the Year Awards on Spike TV last year. Basically, people saying it's a unique experience. It's a game where you're either flying a jet or a plane, or you could be going through like a safari, and it's weird because they showed all this different gameplay in the game. And they said the experience of this game will not be the same for any two people, that it is randomly generated and can go on for infinity. So, okay, I don't know how that's going to work, but the game looked unique as hell, so I don't know what to expect from it, but it looks decent. Okay, then we had, excuse me, Project Morpheus. They had demos. They have demos at E3 at the Sony booth to check it out. If you don't know what it is, Project Morpheus is Sony's attempt at a VR headset that'll interact with the PS camera for the PS4. Okay? Then they announced that YouTube is coming to PlayStation Network. Not only is it coming to PlayStation 4, but it's going to fully allow you to upload any of your game capture vids straight to YouTube, to your YouTube channels. So for those of you who don't have a capture set up like me, right, and you want to be able to capture your games and upload them to YouTube, up to now you haven't been able to do that with the PS4 unless you're using a PC as well. Now you can, apparently. Now you'll be able to do that on the fly, no problem. Apparently also, this I didn't understand, but the guy was like, don't you ever watch a horror movie, and during the movie you say, look out behind you, or don't do that, the killer's right there, the killer will catch you if you go to the top floor of the house instead of going out the back door? And I'm like, okay, I can see that. In like cheesy B movies that happens. And then he goes, so wouldn't you like to yell at those people in person? And I'm like, no. Why would I want to yell at that person in person about that? I didn't understand what he was saying. And then he goes, well, you could do that now with PS4 on Twitch and Ustream. When you're watching someone stream, you can yell at them and they'll hear you. You know what I said to that? No. Because if I'm playing a game, I don't want to hear, fuck you, DSP, you suck, DSP, fuck you, your mother, suck your titties, pull out your balls and show us your taint. Because that's all it's going to be, a bunch of little children yelling nonsense. I don't know why they think this has any kind of an implementation, and anyone who actually live streams and takes it seriously, like, I don't understand what they're thinking with that. But apparently that's a new feature coming. Woohoo. Sounds so great. Okay. Up next, they said there will be 25, no less than 25 new free-to-play games coming to PS4 this year. Okay. They also said that PS Now is launching July 31st on PS4. It's going to be an open beta in the US and Canada at that point. Later on, it will go into open beta on the PS3 and the PS Vita. Okay. Also, it'll work on some Sony TVs. And there will be over 100 PlayStation 3 games that you can get on demand if you're a subscriber to PS Now. But, in beta, I'm assuming it'll be free, and they'll probably have a very limited selection of games that you can try. But that's their goal. They also said that PlayStation TV is a new adapter you can buy. It'll allow you to play your PS4 on other TVs in your house without having to own multiple PS4s. So if you're in the living room and you're playing a game and something happens, someone needs the TV, or you have guests, crap, I have to finish this, I'm in the middle of a really cool match, hold on. You can play the game in another room. I don't know what application that has. I don't know either. I'm lost, okay? But they said that that's what you can do. Great. Then they said that you could also use the TV adapter to use PS Now or for video streaming. So if you're part of the PS network that's coming up, the Sony network of television programming that they're going to release, you could use this TV adapter to watch it on any TV in your house as well. They said the standalone unit's $99, or for $139 you get a version that comes with a DualShock controller and the Lego The Movie game from earlier this year. Okay. Now, after that huge segment that really derailed the whole conference, let's be honest, up until I was saying, oh wow, you have Far Cry 4, Dead Island 2, Hardline, some Disney exclusive content. Then all of a sudden they start talking about YouTube, they start talking about PS TV, they're talking about, okay, Wait a minute. Games? This is E3, right? Games? I know you have all this other shit you want to push down our throats, but how about games? And so finally, after like literally a half an hour of boredom, they finally went back to games, and boy did they hit us with a big one, Mortal Kombat 10. Now keep in mind, Mortal Kombat 10 will more than likely be cross-platform, but it's cool that Sony got the scoop and they got real gameplay of Mortal Kombat 10, unlike that trailer that was released a few days ago. And it looks similar to MK9, I'll be honest, and I really didn't see too much new, except it looks like there may be implementation of some weapons in some combos and such. They showed two other characters. There was this giant brute with a little person on his back, and the other character was a female who had like a bug-like legs that could lash out really far. So, I don't know. Some people are saying the name of one of the characters in the chat. I guess it's a returning character from a previous Mortal Kombat, but it's definitely one that I didn't play, so I didn't recognize the characters. But it looks like Mortal Kombat. It looks good. Looks like it's going to be solid. It's some good combos. I saw the super armor that activated when they were doing their bone-crunching moves and stuff like that. And overall, the game looks good. Okay. Then, and here you go. So you show a really great game off. What do you follow that with? Oh, there's going to be an original series for this PlayStation Network and on TV. It's going to be called Powers. It's based off of a comic book series. It's going to be available in December. Your first episode will be free for everyone. PS Plus subscribers will get the whole series. It's, you know, it's based off of this, but you're like, this is E3. This is not here the time for you to push your new TV show on Sony Network. This is E3. Games, please. Okay, so what did they do? They told us about a movie now instead of games. Now, Ratchet & Clank the movie is coming out in 2015, to which I say, oh, this is perfect timing for this, considering their last game, Into the Nexus, had record low sales for the series, and it was a massive disappointment for the game developers. They thought that it was going to do way better. I don't know who's going to watch this movie besides older Ratchet & Clank fans. These guys have not been pertinent for years, let's face it. The games that come out aren't doing well, so why would you make a movie of this now? I have no clue, but they are. Great idea, right? Okay. Then they start talking about, The Last of Us Remaster, and they show a trailer, and I'm sorry to say this, the trailer looked like The Last of Us on PS3. I saw nothing many better than PS3 on the trailer. Maybe it's because we were watching a stream, the stream was only 30 frames per second, but it didn't look any better whatsoever from The Last of Us on PS3, and they announced no new exclusive content for it at all. So why would you buy it? If you already played it on PS3, why would you buy the same game for PS4? And I think what's happening here is that people or Sony is making the gamble that, all right, well, whoever bought the Xbox One, they're going to give up on the console now and come buy a PS4 to play The Last of Us. I don't know, but that is available on July 29th, okay? Then they ran a trailer for Metal Gear Solid 5: The Phantom Pain, and I'm sorry. I'm going to say this as quickly and succinctly as possible, but I have to be honest. It sucked. The trailer showed zero gameplay whatsoever. It was all overdramatic bullshit cutscenes that literally at the beginning of this trailer, Kojima had to give himself a plug like this was a fucking movie, which it's not. Hello, it's not a fucking movie. Oh, written and directed and produced by Hideo Kojima. He puts it right in the corner as the fucking trailer starts, and you're just furious. You're like, how? This guy's the ego of a fucking planet to do that. And it's just really bad. I'm sorry, but if you want to advertise your game, show us gameplay. I don't give a fuck about the 1,000 cutscenes in the game. In fact, that was the major complaint about Metal Gear Solid 4, is that there were too many cutscenes, so all he shows in this trailer is cutscenes. Stupid, stupid, stupid. Okay. Then, to add insult to injury, GTA 5, they start showing it, and you're like, oh, wow, they're going to be a DLC for GTA 5. This will be great. Story-based, because they didn't announce that, ever. No, this is GTA 5 is going to be re-released on PlayStation 4, and supposedly it's going to look and run better, and you're going to have the ability to import your stats from Grand Theft Auto Online. If you already owned the game on PS3 or Xbox 360, you'll be able to import those stats into the PS4 version of the game. I still think it's incredibly a waste of time because it's just the same game. No new content, and what they showed, what they actually ran, didn't look any better. It looked the same. It looked like Grand Theft Auto on PS3 and Xbox 360. So, again, re-releasing a game on PS4 just for the sake of doing it. Okay. And then, Batman Arkham Knight. We see the very first, like, real complex gameplay. My God, this game looks fucking sweet. It looks sweet. There's so much going on. He starts off, Batman at the top of a tower. He jumps all the way down, free-falling. All of a sudden starts flying with the bat wings around like a bat. He's hovering at max speed throughout the city. He repels off one thing. He bounces off another. You're seeing this amazing level of detail and the depth of Gotham. This is by far going to be the biggest city ever. It's so huge. And then as he's falling down to the ground, the Batmobile whips around a corner by itself. He jumps up, backflips into it. Now he's fucking driving the Batmobile. And that's Fast and Furious. And the graphics around it are great. This motion blur. And you're controlling, whipping around corners. You're destroying things. And you feel like you're the goddamn fucking Batman. It's fucking sweet. The game looks fucking amazing. I'm actually disappointed now that it got delayed. Even though, you know what? Let it be delayed, because it was supposed to come out this fall. Let it be delayed for 2 reasons, okay? Number 1, because there's too much coming out this fall. I already said it earlier in one of these, show recaps. This hardcore gaming season has got to be absolutely insane, out of control with releases. September, October, November, unlike any other year, because it's year 2, basically, beginning for the new generation of consoles in that era. All the games are coming out for them. It's going to be insane overload. So rather take Batman Arkham Knight out of that situation and maybe put it early next year when maybe there's not a lot coming out so it can be appreciated and highlighted more. That's number 1. Number 2, for what it looks like, for the depth of what they're doing with this game, with this open world of Gotham, take as much time as you want, put as much polish as you need, but make it beautiful and make it work. Because the last thing I want is that it looks great on the surface and I start playing it and you find out it's horrible, like Batman Arkham Origins last year, because they rushed it, because it wasn't the same studio and they had bugs left and right and all kinds of unfinished, unpolished stuff. Let it wait and let it be next year and let it be a full 60 frames per second, crazy-ass combat, superb graphics, crazy special appearances by all the freaking Batman villains, because it is the last one in the Batman Arkham series. This is the end of the trilogy, so let it end with a bang, right? And then, which is a really cool twist, so you're watching the footage, and all of a sudden it starts corrupting, and you think, uh-oh, they fucked up, right? No. Then all of a sudden the Scarecrow shows up on screen to announce that there will be exclusive Scarecrow Nightmare missions only on the PlayStation versions of the game. Oh, I'm sorry, only the PlayStation 4 version of the game, because it's not going to be on PS3. So that's also neat. That, again, PS4, it seems like this year, the general thing was, Microsoft got the extra DLCs in Call of Duty early, but PlayStation got everything else. PlayStation got a ton of exclusive content, a ton of exclusive things. Why would you buy those games on Xbox One when you can get all exclusive free content on PS4? Okay? And then to finish the show, to end it with a nice resounding explosion of epicness, they run the Uncharted 4 trailer, whose subtitle is A Thief's End. They say it's coming in 2014. Drake looks a lot older. His face is like wrinkled and older, and even says to Sully, "One last time, can we do it, God? Can you do it, dude? Can you have my back?" And it's really interesting to see that maybe they're going to be ending the series with this game. It doesn't show any gameplay. It's a very short cutscene. It's not very interesting, quite honestly, either. But it's nice to know that Uncharted is coming. We're all hyped for it, right? So overall, what do I think of the Sony press conference? Okay. Well, first of all, when it just came to the amount of content, hands down, they beat everyone today. They had the longest press conference. They had the most game announcements. They had the most technology and other announcements of anyone. They almost went a full 2 hours, while the longest other one today was an hour and a half for Microsoft and only an hour for EA and Ubisoft, okay? So how do I weigh and balance this? Well, you had a ton of really great announcements. All the Destiny content, Order 1886 original gameplay finally, a new game in Entwined, an Infamous DLC, LittleBigPlanet 3, Far Cry 4 gameplay for the first time, Dead Island 2 being announced, information about Disney Infinity 2. If I skip ahead here a little bit, an exclusive Suda 51 game coming to PlayStation, remastering of Grim Fandango on the PS4 and PS Vita, No Man's Sky, Abzu. As I go down even further here, you know, they had the gameplay of Batman Arkham Knight, which no one else had, and they had the Uncharted 4 announcement. So just by the number of announcements and exclusive gameplay that Sony got for their conference this year, they hands down win the day. Now, the only ones left right now are Nintendo with their Nintendo Direct conference they're going to do tomorrow. It's over the internet. It's not, there's no live presence there at E3. But we've also got that, and of course there might be some other stories that come out, but I do not foresee anything that Nintendo has to say beating out the sheer amount of exclusive announcements and content that Sony's press conference had, okay? I don't think that Sony got an A+ like they did last year, because last year they announced their console and they completely destroyed their competition by saying we're not going to be anti-user and anti-gamer like Microsoft is. It just put them a step ahead. That was an A+ press conference. This year, I think they dragged their feet a little, especially when it came to trying to push products down our throat that we don't necessarily want to hear about at E3. Do I really want to know that, you know, that, where the hell is it? I gotta find that right page here. That's not it. Here it is. Do I really want to know that you can yell at someone on Twitch while they play? Do I really want to know about the 25 free-to-play games that are coming, which you just, undoubtedly, when there's 25 of them, you can't show enough images or content of any of them to sell us that the games are good, so why bother? Do I really want to know about PS Now when it's not even launched yet and we're not sure if it's even going to be anything worth getting? Do we really want to know about your PS TV and your PS Network and powers and TV and TV and TV and TV? E3 is not for TV. E3 is for games. Why do these big shots keep thinking now is the time to push our TV agenda? It's not. This is the worst possible time. Because I'll tell you right now, that show Powers, the only people who are going to watch it are people who get it for free because they're PS Plus subscribers. Not one person will pay for that now because at E3 you pissed them off and they wanted to hear about games, and instead you spent 15 fucking minutes sending Brian Michael Bendis' bulbous ass out on the stage to talk about his new creation that no one cares about. Holy shit, Sony. Stop. We don't need to hear about TV at E3, okay? You had an amazing amount of blockbuster announcements. You didn't need to start talking about that shit, all right? Okay. So, overall, I think they had a ton of great content. A ton of great content. It's funny. I mean, why couldn't Microsoft get any of these guys? Just think about the games that I mentioned, okay? Destiny. Where the hell is it? Oh, Far Cry 4, exclusive gameplay, only shown at the Sony press conference. Mortal Kombat 10, only shown at the Sony press conference. What was the other? Oh, Batman Arkham Knight, only shown at the Sony press conference. There's a ton of games that are cross-platform. They will be on Xbox One, but those game developers chose to have their games shown off at the Sony press conference, not Microsoft. I have to say, it used to be the opposite. I think that the game makers I want to be on Microsoft's press conference because 360 is great. And now they've lost so much market share and market hold because of the bullshit choices they made last year with their console that Sony got all the exclusives this year, even though they're cross-platform. And then, of course, what you also have to say is all the tons of extra content that are only going to be in the PlayStation 4 versions of the games. Again, it seems like there's a big shift. It used to be all Microsoft. Now it seems Sony is getting all the exclusives, which is crazy. All right? So, based on the sheer number of announcements of new games, new IPs, the sheer number of gameplay clips that were shown of things that we never seen before, and the fact that overall the content was overwhelmingly more in the Sony press conference, I think that it was a very positive press conference, and they definitely won out the press conferences for today. However, Sony took a misstep when they start talking about these peripheral products like television and this, no one cares. If you just talked about games, everyone would have said this is an A+, 100% best conference ever. Instead, well, we got to push the bullshit agendas down your throat that you probably don't care about. And that really derailed it, honestly. For about a good half hour of the presentation, people could have went to sleep because they missed nothing. It's just a bunch of bullshit that you don't need to know about if you're here to hear about games at E3, which the majority of people are. So I'm going to give the Sony media event, press conference, whatever you want to call it, E3 2014, I'm going to give it an A-. Okay? If they never talked about any of that bullshit, it would have been an A+. They hit everything right on the head. Okay? The problem was they had to shove in their bullshit that no one cares about. So Sony, I think, did a really good job It got me very excited for this upcoming months. This hardcore gaming season, are you out of your mind? I'm going to be so fucking busy with AAA titles, I'm going to not have time to breathe. I guess I'm just going to have to stop eating for a couple weeks because I'm not going to be able to have time to with all these games that are coming out that I want to play. So I give it an A-, and I think that they definitely won the day, okay? So, all right, so that is it for my coverage of the Sony press conference at E3. I hope that you enjoyed the recap and you enjoyed hearing my take on it, my viewpoints. Tomorrow, Tuesday, I will also be covering other stuff, including Nintendo, and then any big announcements that may be going on during the course of the day. I'll be covering that later on in the day. I'll update you guys, as usual, in the appropriate places on my schedule of how I'll be doing that, but I'll also be uploading those thoughts to this channel, DSP Gaming, on YouTube as well. So whether you're watching this on Twitch TV or on YouTube, I want to say thank you for a great day one. Tons of new announcements, tons of new content announced. I'm very excited after this Sony press conference. I can't wait for the rest of this year, and of course for early 2015 when some of the next new gen games are coming out. And I am ready and pumped for tomorrow as well to see what Nintendo and everyone else has in store for us. So thanks very much for watching. Have a good night. Hope to see you for the rest of my E3 coverage this week. Peace out.